Wealth, Lies, and Murder. Chapter 1. The Golden Coast Mystery. In the sun-drenched landscape of 1980s California, the coastal town of Santa Miranda appeared to be the epitome of tranquility and affluence. Palm trees lined the streets, swaying gently in the breeze, and the rhythmic sound of waves crashing against the shore provided a soothing backdrop to everyday life. The pastel-colored villas and pristine beaches made it a paradise for its wealthy residents. However, beneath this idyllic facade, a sinister secret lurked, threatening to unravel the community's polished veneer. Miles Harrington, a seasoned private detective with a penchant for solving the most intricate mysteries, arrived in Santa Miranda with a sense of foreboding. His reputation for uncovering hidden truths had earned him the respect of law enforcement and the ire of those who had something to hide. He had come to town at the behest of an old friend, Police Chief Robert Dawson, who was overwhelmed by the complexities of a high-profile case. Dawson had confided in Miles, revealing the disappearance of a local socialite named Evelyn Monroe. Miles surveyed the town from the balcony of his hotel room, taking in the picturesque view. The detective knew that appearances could be deceiving, and Santa Miranda was no exception. His first task was to familiarize himself with the key figures in the community, starting with Evelyn Monroe herself, the woman whose disappearance had sparked the investigation. The case promised to be challenging, but Miles was determined to uncover the truth. Chapter 2. A Notable Disappearance. Evelyn Monroe, a prominent socialite known for her lavish parties and charitable works, had vanished without a trace following a gala at her beachfront mansion. The event, attended by the town's elite, had been a glittering affair. Yet, as the night drew to a close, Evelyn had mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind only an air of confusion and concern. Evelyn was a woman of striking beauty and charm, with a magnetic presence that drew people to her. Her philanthropic endeavors had earned her admiration, but her personal life was shrouded in secrecy. Miles began his investigation by examining the mansion, noting the opulence and the carefully curated facade of perfection. The grand staircase, the crystal chandeliers, and the extravagant decor spoke of wealth and status. But beneath the surface, Miles sensed a darker undercurrent. The detective retraced Evelyn's steps on the night of the gala. She had been last seen mingling with guests in the ballroom, dressed in an elegant gown that accentuated her beauty. Her sudden disappearance seemed out of character, prompting Miles to consider the possibility of foul play. He interviewed the staff, who provided little insight beyond their recollections of the evening's events. The detective's instincts told him that the key to the mystery lay in the details that others had overlooked. Chapter 3. Clues in the Sand. Miles methodically examined Evelyn's beachfront mansion, starting with the scene of the gala. The faint traces of sand in her living room, the slightly ajar French doors leading to the balcony, and a single broken wine glass suggested a struggle. The detective's keen eye for detail uncovered a set of footprints leading away from the house, partially erased by the tide but still discernible. The trail led him to a secluded cove, where the footprints abruptly ended. The cove, hidden from view by jagged rocks and overgrown vegetation, seemed an unlikely place for Evelyn to venture alone. Miles noted the disturbed sand and the remnants of a hastily discarded scarf, partially buried. The scarf, embroidered with Evelyn's initials, was a significant clue. It suggested that she had been taken against her will. Miles spent hours scouring the area, searching for any additional evidence that might shed light on Evelyn's fate. The cove's isolation made it an ideal spot for a clandestine meeting or an abduction. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the sand, Miles felt a growing sense of urgency. He knew that time was of the essence. Chapter 4. Secrets of the Social Elite. As Miles delved deeper into Evelyn's life, he uncovered a web of secrets and lies. The social elite of Santa Miranda, who had appeared so polished and pristine, harbored their own dark histories and hidden agendas. Evelyn's closest friends, a circle of wealthy and influential individuals, seemed to have much to hide. Miles attended the charity event hosted by Beatrice Worthington, a wealthy widow and one of Evelyn's confidants. Beatrice's estate, perched on a hill overlooking the ocean, was a testament to her influence and wealth. The event provided Miles with an opportunity to observe the interactions and dynamics among Evelyn's social circle. During the event, Miles noted the subtle tensions and veiled glances exchanged among the guests. He overheard snippets of conversation that hinted at rivalries and resentments. Evelyn's friends, who had initially presented a united front, now seemed to be fracturing under the pressure of her disappearance. The detective's observations led him to suspect that the socialite's life had been far from harmonious. Miles learned that Evelyn had been involved in a number of questionable business ventures, some of which bordered on illegal. Her connections to powerful figures in the community suggested that her disappearance was not a simple case of a socialite gone astray. The detective began to suspect that Evelyn's secrets had caught up with her, leading to her mysterious vanishing. Chapter 5: The Gardener's Tale. One of the key witnesses in the case was the gardener, Manuel, who had been employed by Evelyn for many years. Manuel, a quiet and observant man, had seen more than he let on. His account of the night of the gala provided crucial insights into the events leading up to Evelyn's disappearance. Manuel recalled seeing a heated argument between Evelyn and an unknown man on the balcony, shortly before she vanished. The man, whose face Manuel could not clearly see, had appeared agitated and confrontational. The gardener's testimony added another layer of complexity to the case, suggesting that Evelyn had been involved in a dispute that may have escalated to violence. Miles interviewed Manuel at length, carefully noting the details of his account. The gardener described Evelyn as a kind and generous employer, but he also mentioned that she had become increasingly secretive in recent weeks. Manuel's observations suggested that Evelyn had been under significant stress and pressure, possibly related to her business dealings or personal relationships. The detective's methodical approach led him to examine the balcony where the argument had taken place. He found traces of blood on the railing, indicating that a struggle had indeed occurred. Miles collected samples for analysis, hoping that they would provide further clues to Evelyn's fate. Chapter 6: The Wealthy Widow. Miles's investigation led him to Mrs. Beatrice Worthington, a wealthy widow and one of Evelyn's closest confidants. Mrs. Worthington, known for her sharp wit and keen business acumen, had been a constant presence in Evelyn's life. Her luxurious estate, with its manicured gardens and sweeping ocean views, provided a stark contrast to the turmoil that Miles sensed beneath the surface. Beatrice provided Miles with valuable insights into Evelyn's character and her recent activities. She revealed that Evelyn had been increasingly paranoid in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, convinced that she was being followed. Beatrice's account painted a picture of a woman under immense pressure, grappling with forces beyond her control. Miles spent hours poring over Beatrice's account, cross-referencing it with other information he had gathered. His investigation into Beatrice's background revealed a woman who was fiercely protective of her friends and ruthless in her business dealings. Beatrice had been instrumental in helping Evelyn navigate the complexities of her financial affairs, but the relationship had not been without tension. Miles began to suspect that Beatrice knew more about Evelyn's disappearance than she was letting on. Chapter 7: The Unfaithful Husband. Another key figure in the investigation was Evelyn's husband, Richard Monroe. Richard, a successful businessman with a penchant for luxury and excess, had been notably absent on the night of the gala. His alibi, which seemed airtight at first glance, began to crumble under closer scrutiny. Miles discovered that Richard had been involved in an extramarital affair with a younger woman, a fact that he had desperately tried to conceal. The revelation of Richard's infidelity added another motive for foul play, suggesting that his relationship with Evelyn had been far from harmonious. Richard's business dealings also came under scrutiny. Miles uncovered evidence of financial improprieties and dubious investments. Richard's precarious financial situation, coupled with his strained marriage, painted a picture of a man under immense pressure. The detective began to consider the possibility that Richard had played a role in Evelyn's disappearance. Miles interviewed Richard's mistress, a woman named Sandra, who provided additional insights into Richard's state of mind. Sandra described Richard as a man who was increasingly paranoid and desperate. She revealed that he had been talking about leaving Evelyn and starting a new life, but his plans had been derailed by the discovery of his financial misdeeds. The detective's investigation into Richard's business dealings revealed a web of deceit and betrayal. Miles discovered that Richard had been embezzling funds from his company to cover his mounting debts. The revelation of Richard's financial improprieties provided a powerful motive for him to want Evelyn out of the picture. Chapter 8: The Shady Business Partner. Evelyn's business ventures had not been without controversy. One of her partners, a slick and charismatic entrepreneur named Victor Lang, had a reputation for bending the rules. Victor, who had been seen at the gala, had a complicated history with Evelyn, marked by disputes over money and control. Miles uncovered evidence of financial irregularities in their joint ventures, pointing to a potential motive for Victor to wish Evelyn harm. The detective's investigation into Victor's background revealed a pattern of deceit and manipulation, further implicating him in the mystery. Victor's charm and smooth demeanor belied a ruthless streak. Miles interviewed several individuals who had been burned by Victor's business dealings, painting a picture of a man who would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. The detective's suspicions grew as he delved deeper into Victor's connections and activities. He discovered that Victor had been involved in a number of shady business deals, including money laundering and fraud. His partnership with Evelyn had been fraught with tension as she had become increasingly wary of his unethical practices. The detective began to consider the possibility that Victor had orchestrated Evelyn's disappearance to silence her. Chapter 9: The Art Dealer. Among Evelyn's acquaintances was an art dealer named Claudia Rossini, who had been involved in the acquisition of several valuable pieces for Evelyn's collection. Claudia, with her enigmatic charm and extensive network of contacts, had been a frequent visitor to Evelyn's mansion. Miles discovered that Claudia had been involved in a series of art thefts, using her position to facilitate the illegal trade of stolen works. Her connection to Evelyn suggested that the socialite may have unwittingly become entangled in Claudia's criminal activities, providing another possible motive for her disappearance. Claudia's interactions with Evelyn had been marked by a blend of friendship and business. Miles explored the possibility that their relationship had soured over time, leading to conflict. The detective's investigation into Claudia's past revealed a trail of deceit and betrayal, adding another layer of complexity to the case. Miles interviewed several art collectors and dealers who had worked with Claudia before, uncovering a pattern of deception and fraud. The detective discovered that Claudia had been using Evelyn's collection as a front for her illegal activities. The revelation of Claudia's criminal enterprises provided another powerful motive for her to want Evelyn out of the picture. Chapter 10: The Unraveling. As Miles pieced together the clues, a clearer picture of the night of the gala began to emerge. Evelyn, under immense pressure from various fronts, had been confronted by multiple adversaries. Each of the suspects had a motive, and each had the opportunity to harm Evelyn. The detective's methodical approach led him to re-examine the evidence with fresh eyes. The footprints in the sand, the broken wine glass, and the discarded scarf all pointed to a confrontation that had escalated beyond control. Miles's relentless pursuit of the truth brought him closer to unraveling the mystery. Miles spent sleepless nights analyzing the evidence, constructing a timeline and identifying inconsistencies in the suspects' alibis. He revisited key locations, interviewed witnesses, and cross-referenced information. The detective's persistence paid off as he began to identify patterns and connections that had previously eluded him. The breakthrough came when Miles discovered a hidden compartment in Evelyn's desk, containing a series of letters and documents. The correspondence revealed Evelyn's desperate attempts to extricate herself from the web of deceit that had ensnared her. Among the letters was a note from a lawyer, expressing frustration and disillusionment with the justice system. The lawyer, identified as Samuel Harding, had been a key figure in Evelyn's legal affairs. His letters revealed a man at the end of his tether, struggling with the moral compromises of defending criminals. Samuel's connection to Evelyn, combined with his evident disillusionment, suggested a final, tragic confrontation. Chapter 11. The Final Clue. Miles meticulously analyzed the letters, piecing together the timeline of events leading up to Evelyn's disappearance. He discovered that Samuel had been increasingly involved in Evelyn's affairs, providing legal counsel and attempting to shield her from the fallout of her business dealings. The detective's investigation revealed that Samuel had been pushed to the brink by the pressures of his profession and his personal connections with Evelyn. Miles began to consider the possibility that Samuel had confronted Evelyn on the night of the gala, leading to a confrontation that had spiraled out of control. The detective's analysis of the letters revealed a pattern of escalating tension and desperation, suggesting that Samuel had been driven to the edge by the pressures Evelyn herself was putting on him and his own moral misgivings. Chapter 12. Behind the Facade. Miles confronted Samuel Harding, piecing together the events of that fateful night. Samuel, driven to the brink by the corruption and moral ambiguity of his profession, had confronted Evelyn in a moment of desperation. Their argument had escalated, leading to a fatal struggle that ended with Evelyn's death. Samuel, consumed by guilt and frustration, had attempted to cover up the crime, leaving behind the trail of clues that Miles had meticulously uncovered. The lawyer's confession, tinged with remorse and despair, revealed the tragic irony of a man who had sought justice but had instead become ensnared in the very corruption he despised. As the shimmering veil of secrecy was lifted, the true extent of the tragedy was laid bare. Evelyn Monroe's life, marked by glamour and deception, had come to a violent end at the hands of a man who had once been her trusted ally. Miles Harrington, having solved the case, reflected on the fragile nature of truth and the complexities of the human heart as the golden coast of Santa Miranda resumed its deceptive tranquility. Miles's thoughts turned to the community of Santa Miranda, a town that had been forever changed by the events that had unfolded. The detective knew that justice had been served, but the scars left behind would take time to heal. As he prepared to leave the town, Miles reflected on the lessons learned from the case, knowing that the shimmering veil of truth and deception would always be a part of his journey as a detective. If you've enjoyed this story and would like to hear some more, do let us know in the comments below. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us a lot. Thanks.